Hello, everybody. It's been roughly a week since I've recorded, maybe more. I don't know. Um, but I'm currently dealing with school. Next week for my schedule is going to be no school, so I'm gonna have a lot more time to record. Uh, um, 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 um. Yes, this is going to be a new what if. What if Deku could transform into Behemoth or Wraith from the game Evolve? And I've kind of made the ship for this. I've made the ship a more barbarian-esque Bakugo. Yes, it's going to be female Bakugo. I'm sorry to all those guy-on-guy ships or the female-on-female ships. I honestly, in my opinion, guy on female and female on female are better. That's my opinion. Sorry if you get frustrated and you don't like me anymore because of that. My opinion. That's my opinion. Please don't hate. And plus, I normally don't do the romantic stuff. I don't like doing romantic stuff. I honestly hate doing romantic stuff. Because, first off, I'm terrible at explaining anything. Second off, I have never been in a relationship, so I don't know anything about romance. And I am not a Bakugo kind of person. I don't constantly sit down and read romantic stories. The most romance that I read is I fight you, you fight me, all of a sudden we like each other. That's as far in romance as I possibly can go in a romantic novel. That's as romantic as I can go in a novel. But back to the what if. So, what if Deku could transform into Behemoth or Wraith? First off, Wraith is not going to have a Wraith Blast. So Deku cannot dash in to the group of people and explode. Cannot. And he cannot do the rock wall from Behemoth. Behemoth, he's still going to have his Iron Fortress passive that the more he gets hit while he's in Behemoth form, the harder he becomes to hurt. And Wraith, I forgot what her passive is. Wraith, she's still going to be the Wraith, and squishy as all hell. But stealthy. Really, really stealthy. Decoy Supernova. Passive ability. Isolated target within a 60-meter radius around Wraith gets isolation stacks applied on the every 5 seconds. Okay. So, a sneak attack. She has the ability to sneak attack. And by the way, he's going to have the glacial behemoth skin. He's going to have lava bomb, tongue grab, and fissure. Living Fortress passive. Where are the? I can't find them. I'll find a picture of Wraith, one of Wraith's skins that I like for Deku. So I'm going to say he starts off at 4 when he goes to the Quirk Doctor. And there's some people who say that the Quirk doctor that Deku was originally at took his quirk. So the people who don't want him to go to that one, don't worry, he's not going to that one. He's going to a completely different quirk doctor. And this quirk doctor also does quirk counseling, since he also does have a villainous quirk. His quirk is the ability to destroy quirks. He can destroy and see a person's quirk. So all he has to do is touch the other person to see it. And he needs to physically break a bone to destroy the quirk. So he'd be a very overpowered superhero. But he doesn't like hurting people. The drawback of his quirk is he's afraid of hurting people. So you could see that he's not going to hurt anybody. So he went into the quirk counseling to help with people's mental states. And he sees that Deku has a very monstrous / villainous quirk. And he immediately tells Deku to stay 1 second. And he needs to talk to Deku's mother for a bit in privacy. So he breaks down the gist of Deku's quirk and suggests when Deku comes into the room that Deku seeks counseling because of his quirk. And he suggests Deku not tell anybody about his quirk and act quirkless. But he can't act quirkless for long because the doctor mentions that his skin is going to start looking like rock. So if anybody's seen the anime, he will start looking like when Kirishima hardens a body part, it'd start looking like that just all the time. Except for his joints. So if you look on Behemoth, you see like the bends in the rock. You'd actually see a normal arm there. And he'd gain another set of arms. If you know what Wraith looks like from Evolved, you would understand these are the Scythe arms when he transforms into Wraith. But he has 2 sets of arms, and he looks like rock. So in his normal human state, he's twice as durable and 3 times stronger. So he explains his quirk. The doctor explains Deku's quirk to Deku. And the doctor immediately tells Deku, because he knows this is going to hurt Deku if he finds out by himself, that his quirk is villainous. And that he will teach him how to control it. Because, and I don't really like what I'm doing here, but he's friends with Aizawa and Mike. Yes, President Mike and Aizawa are a couple, and they are friends with this doctor. Go, cat. My cat wanted out. He's freaking picky. But Aizawa volunteers every other day when he's not working to help with controlling the quirks of children who have either villainous or super powerful quirks. And in this timeline, Deku has not met Katsuki yet. So I'm going to skip 3 weeks when Deku starts feeling pain in his back. He starts screaming in his room, and his mother runs in. And she sees 2 hands coming off of his back. And she's like, oh crap, it's already started. So she calls up the doctor and says, it started, we're coming in next week. So we're going to skip another week. The arms are fully developed, so he can move them like normal arms, which he's completely confused about. Because he just got them, but they feel like they've been there since birth. And he's noticed, ever since he activated his quirk for the first time, which was when he was 3. Yes, quirks activate when they're 3. He finally got it evaluated when he was 4 because they wanted the doctor that can 100% evaluate a quirk without doing any nasty tests. So, when they got it evaluated, the doctor told them that once it starts coming in, he needs to join the court counseling. So, I'm going to skip a week from when he finally starts, and the doctor who... So, there's Mina, Kirishima, and who else? For the hell of it, because of his mental state, I'm gonna say Shigaraki. Shigaraki's in this quirk counseling. Yes, he's still gonna be a man-child when it's the USJ, and yes, he's still gonna have a hatred for All Might because of All for One. But Shigaraki is currently hating his quirk and constantly trying to rip his own arms off. So the doctor gave him one option, and he said, 1 year of quirk counseling, and if you don't feel comfortable with your quirk, I will destroy it. So he's currently been in quirk counseling for 6 months. And so Deku and Shigaraki are great friends. They became friends once Deku joined, and they've been hanging out together ever since because of how devastating their quirks can be. So they kind of bonded a friendship on that. So Deku has been able to transform into a... since Behemoth is 15 feet tall... Not 15 feet. 15 meter tall. And Wraith is 6 meters tall. I'm going to say he was able to transform into a 1 meter tall Wraith and a 3 meter tall Behemoth. His size aren't completely developed, so his arms hurt a little and tried to change, but couldn't completely. And sorry, dinner was good though. I had some kind of cheese sandwich thing. It was good. Uh, anyways, um, Deku, who was currently testing his Wraith form, when the doctor walked in and said that they had a new friend coming. And Deku, forgetting that he's in Wraith form, roared. So all of a sudden, they hear. All of a sudden, Deku screeches, and the doctor's like, okay, you need to get out of your Wraith form. And Deku looks down. He's like, oh crap, still in Wraith. And all of a sudden, he hears crying. And he's like, what just happened? Because yes, I'm gonna say that the downfall of Bakugo's quirk is that he gets frightened easily from loud noises. Bakugo Katsuki, the loudest person in My Hero Academia, got frightened from a loud noise. But anyway, they hear crying, and Deku quickly shifts back to human form and immediately starts apologizing. He forgot he was testing out his Wraith form and was trying to understand its abilities. Because he's manifested the dash for Wraith. He's manifested the sprinting roll for Behemoth. But he's not manifested any of their abilities yet. Like the lava bomb or the abduction. So it takes around an hour for Katsuki, I'm just going to call her Bakugo, because that's technically her last name. It takes her around an hour to calm down. Once she's finally calmed down and stable, they introduce themselves. Shigaraki introduces himself and his goals. His goal, right? And he was told by All For One to just say that his goal is to understand quirks and to get over his fear of his quirk. Because after like a few weeks, mentally he's over the trauma of what happened when he activated his quirk. But he still has the pain of activating his quirk that he's trying to live with. So, I'd say that no, let's say Katsuki goes next, introduces herself, and says that her goal is to become strong like All Might. Not become number one, but to be strong like All Might. And then Deku goes and he says he just wants to live a normal life without people calling him a villain every 24 or every 5 seconds. And then the teacher or slash doctor says, now everybody, he say what their quirk is. And Deku goes first. He says that it doesn't have a name yet, but he's thinking of the name as Evolve. Because when he transforms, it kind of looks like he's evolving. If anybody's seen the Evolve or the upgrade screen for Evolve, when you're upgrading as a behemoth, that's what it looks like. It's freaking cool. But and it looks like he's shedding his skin whenever he undoes his transformation. What was it? I'd say that Midoriya or Izuku's goal is to become number one. And everybody was like, why? Besides living a normal life, he also says his goal is to become number one. Because people with villainous quirks normally are treated like they can't become anything. So he wants to change that. So he wants to become strong and become number one like All Might. I'm going to say that Katsuki and Izuku are both canon intelligence. So IQ of 150, 160. Because if you look at Bakugo's fighting technique, his is a rabid dog, a rabid, ever-changing dog's fighting style. And Izuku's is, I fought you, I lost, or I won, and now here's what I have improved. Or if you have seen comic books of Taskmaster, his fighting style is like Taskmaster. Taskmaster. So I'm gonna skip to the second to last day of middle school, when the teacher walks in with the papers in hand, saying, "Okay, class, now we have to plan for your future." Who am I kidding? You all want to be heroes anyway. While throwing the papers up in the air. So everybody starts using their quirk except for Katsuki and Izuku. Izuku, obviously, because his quirk is almost always active, and he can control it 100%. So he immediately gets ready for a fight because there's been a class bully in his class that always picks on him. And no, it's not Bakugo. If anything, Bakugo is actually the one that saves him 90% of the time because he doesn't want to hurt anybody that he doesn't have to. So after class, he walks out of the classroom. The teacher's currently just sitting at his desk grading papers, and he doesn't pay attention to when Izuku's getting bullied because of prejudice against villainous quirks. It's severe in this what if. Just walking down the street, you could get sucker punched because of your quirk, and everybody asks, why were you sucker punched? And if you say, my quirk is villainous, they just walk away. I'm going to say that the teacher knows but doesn't care that Katsuki or Deku is going to try to go to UA because he just doesn't care where they go. His job is just to teach them the shit that he needs to teach them and push them out of the class. So the bully that picks on Izuku, if it was a normal class, would be failing. But since his job is just to push them through the year, the bully is passing by a grade that's 1% higher than needed to barely pass. So he doesn't have to deal with the bully anymore. So there's 3 people that try to get into UA. The bully, Katsuki, and Izuku. And Izuku's currently walking out of school, and all of a sudden he gets 1,000,000 volts through his body, and he knows exactly who it was. Denki Kaminari, his bully. I'm going to say that Denki is more egotistical towards people. And he somehow gets into 1A. He's going to somehow get into 1A. But Denki, he's currently sending 1,000,000 volts through Izuku's body right now. And what Denki doesn't know is that Izuku's built up a tolerance to the electricity. The behemoth, the wraith, and behemoth natural armor, for example, when they eat, he gets that. He gets Wraith's armor capacity and the behemoth's thicker armor ability, which means his armor can take a lot more before his armor goes down. Cooldown rate, critical damage, reload speed. That's a good one. Assassin Claw. Cool. Sorry, I'm playing Borderlands 2. It's a great game. And if you want some Borderlands what ifs, check out the What If Deku Was Krieg what if that I have posted already, but I'm still working on that one. So he after Denki attacks Izuku, in this timeline, Denki can control his electricity a lot better. So Izuku gets zapped with 1,000,000 volts, but doesn't die because Denki pulls his electricity away from his heart and his brain. So Izuku currently can't move. So after an hour of Denki messing with Izuku, Bakugo walks out. Because Bakugo is the A++ kind of student in this what if. So she is currently trying to stay the A++ student and impress, because of how long it's been, she's trying to impress Deku. Because she's grown attached to him. But she won't admit it. So her grades are the same as his 100%. Because he's still the geek that he was in canon of, oh, if I work on my brains more than my brawn, everybody will see that I'm average, except for my intelligence. And maybe I could be a hero through intelligence instead of bronze. So she stops Kaminari from bullying Deku because Kaminari has a crush on Katsuki. She doesn't know that. Deku knows that. So when all of a sudden he hears Bakugo rounding the corner, Denki runs off. Because he doesn't want to be caught doing awful things to someone in front of the one he wants to impress. So Izuku falls to one knee, completely almost paralyzed. Because if you've ever been shot by a taser, your muscle spasm and you can't control them. I have personally not been shot by a taser. I've done research though. So he's currently on one knee, and Katsuki runs over being like, what happened? And all she hears from Izuku is thank you. And then he walks off when he finally can stand up. And she's like, you didn't answer my question. So she runs after him, and he just keeps walking. And she's still confused. So it's 5 minutes later, and she's still asking him what happens. He finally stops underneath the bridge and says, Kaminari has been bullying me, and I don't want to fight back. And apparently he runs away every time you're coming. And she tilts her head in confusion, being like, what? And then Izuku immediately puts it together like, oh crap. And he starts laughing. And he's like, Kaminari likes you. She immediately fake vomits. Of thinking that Kaminari likes her. Being like, what? That's disgusting. And Izuku just keeps laughing. And all of a sudden, the sludge villain attacks them. Well, attacks Katsuki, not Izuku. Because he gets strange vibes from Izuku, and he wants the ability to actually get out instead of possibly get injured on the way out. So he jumps on Katsuki, and before the sludge villain could fully grab Katsuki, Izuku abducts Katsuki, uses the ability abduct from the Wraith skills to pull Katsuki away. And then he uses his transformation, which takes roughly 10 seconds to transform into the behemoth, which is currently too big to be in the underpass thingy, the bridge thingy. So that breaks. But he curls up in a ball with Katsuki and rolls away, leaving a trail of fire. And the sludge villain being like, the fuck just happened? And maybe 3 minutes later, or when he finally comes out of the ball form, he asks Katsuki if she's alright. And she is beet red because the man parts were all up on her when he transformed. So she's like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then faints. Like Hinata with a nosebleed coming. So she faints like Hinata, and then her nose starts bleeding. And she's like, oh crap. Wait, we have Quirk counseling, right? So he immediately picks her back up and starts rolling towards Quirk counseling. Because it's faster to roll instead of carry her. Because he's currently 10 meters tall instead of his 15. He won't be 15 meters until he gets fissure. He currently has a tongue grab and lava bomb. He never uses lava bomb unless it's to destroy something. And he only uses tongue grab every once in a while. He prefers abduct. Because he's more accurate with abduct. So another 5 minutes pass, and he's currently at the Quirk counseling area, and he's like, yeah, we were attacked by a villain, so I used my quirk, and I rolled away, and all of a sudden, Katsuki passed out, and her nose started bleeding. And the doctor's like, oh my god, I know exactly what happened. Just lay her down right over there and leave the room. And he's like, okay, but why? And then all of a sudden, she starts waking up, and he pushes him out of the room. And when Izuku leaves the room, she finally opens her eyes and asks where she is. The doctor immediately says, Quirk counseling. And then her face goes beet red, looks around the room, and face palms severely. The doctor immediately asks, so, how was the ride? And she immediately, he passes out again. He starts laughing and then tells Izuku to come into the room. 5 minutes later, she wakes up again, looks at Izuku, goes beet red, and says thank you, and leaves the room. And Izuku, being confused about the entire thing, says you're welcome, and I'm gonna have to end it in a few minutes. And asks the doctor what the hell is wrong with Katsuki. She was perfectly fine until the villain attack. And the doctor says, the villain attack wasn't the scary part. There was no scary part. Her emotions got the best of her. And Izuku tilts his head, being like, what? Then the doctor busts out laughing and says, Quirk counseling is over, because you have 10 months to train for UA. And Deku immediately, he's like, so I'm out of quirk counseling. He's like, yeah, you have no problem with your quirk anymore, and all your fears are gone. If you have any other problems with your quirk or anything else manifests, just come straight to me. I'll help. Deku bows, says thank you, and then transforms into Wraith and dashes home. When he gets home, Inko greets him because he's early. She says, you're early? And he says, yeah, quirk counseling is officially over, and I'm training for UA. And then she gives him a sly look, being like, is that all that happened today? And he tilts his head, being like, what? What are you talking about? And she just face palms. Because she got the rundown from Mitsuki, who had Bakugo vent to her. Hold on. She had Katsuki vent to her once she got home. It's a 6-minute by Wraith from the Quirk counselor to Izuku's home, and a 2-minute walk from the Quirk counselor to Katsuki's home. So Katsuki left before Izuku. So Katsuki got home, still beet red, thinking about what happened. Her nose starts bleeding, and her mom walks to the door, being like, I know you're home early because the counselor called. and sees that Katsuki's beet red and her nose is bleeding. Mitsuki starts laughing and being like, "You rode with Izuku." And then Katsuki immediately passes out with the cliche anime nosebleed. A minute later, Katsuki wakes up and Mitsuki tells her to vent all that happened. Tell her all that happened. And what Katsuki didn't know is Inko is currently on the phone listening. I'm going to leave it off there because my parents are getting rowdy, and yeah. So if you like this, subscribe, hit that bell. I won't ask for likes. Just subscribe, hit the bell if you like my content at all. I know my content sucks. Tell me what I could do better later. Meme. My kind of memes. If you have any more memes and questioning life quotes or questions, put them in the comments. I love them. But see you guys next time.